Does anyone know what kind of events they're having on campus today?
Today?
Yeah. Family weekend? Gotcha. I wonder. So many people. Huh? Oh, really? Yeah, they just can't make up their mind where to park. It's like driving slowly. Come on, guys. All right. You guys experienced the hailstorm yesterday?
I don't. One of my friend's car charges up totally portable windshield.
It's horrible. My car got damaged as well. I had to run out and use my blankets to cover my car because I don't want to deal with insurance before I go. I'm leaving within 2 weeks, I think. So speaking of that, the last class or the last 2 classes, I might just record the lectures and you guys can watch it online. But yeah, but my car still got damaged, so I need to call the insurance company and then deal with that. So that sucks. What else? So that's like influenced my emotions a lot and my mood. We learn. So it's there's a simulation that helps on.
I was just confused. Like during the day it was pretty hot and humid, and at night it's just ice. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
It wasn't even that cold outside either when I was having.
Yeah. And I was lucky that I didn't get hurt because those freaking ice balls are huge. And I thought about it afterwards. I was like, that was not worth it. Shouldn't have done it. All right. Just so you know, next time when there's hailstorms, don't go outside. My head still hurts. Okay.
We're at home with
So today we're gonna keep talking about personality. Oh wait, I didn't make it visible to you guys. We good now? No? Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so personality announcements. So make sure you remember to put in your participation, your attendance. I know sometimes people forget, sometimes people put in the wrong dates. I don't have time to change that for you, so you need to be responsible for that. As long as you get 70% or above, you get full grades for participation. I think I'm being very lenient on this. But still, try to attend classes because it's helpful and it's fun. I mean, I think it's fun, right? Yeah. Cool. So attend classes. Your assignment 3 is posted. You can go check out the instructions. I forgot to post the PowerPoint slides. I will need to do that afterwards. I was trying to contact the insurance company. I forgot. And the dates of the syllabus are updated again. I know it sucks. It's been like the 9th version of the syllabus, but because of that winter storm, everything got messed up. And when I make the dates, it was just confusing. So there's some mistakes, and I've updated that again. For your research participation, you can get 1 extra point in this class if you participated more than the requirement. So the requirement is 14 credits, right? So if you remember that correctly, 14 credits?
Yeah,
okay,
14.
Okay, great. You guys look confused or just quiet. I want to make sure. Correct. It's a Friday. So you just need to do more. It doesn't matter how many more credits you get. You get 1 extra credit. Right? Good deal, right? All right, cool. Also today, this morning, I checked. Someone posted the Read My Professor review. I don't know who, but nice. What's your name? Rebecca. Thank you. I like it. I'm very satisfied. It's perceived as genuine, so it's a good ingratiation. Remember what we talked about last class? Okay, all right. Thank you guys. I liked it. All right, today we're gonna talk about how do we assess personalities. There's some different measures, behavior measures, personality inventories, and projective tests. And we're gonna talk about that one by one. So you're right on time. Take out a piece of paper and a pen. Try to draw a person. Make this very the best picture that you can. And then I want you to take your time and then work carefully and just try your best. Even though, I don't know, sometimes people say, oh, I'm not good at drawing, but try your best to draw this. Don't put the name on the paper. Once you're done, take a picture and send it to my email. Well, it's gonna be anonymous, and we'll find some. I'll just take a look. If there's some interesting ones, I might share it next class, but we'll see. But don't get that biased on how you draw on the picture. Just use your intuition. What? Any person, just one person. And don't be shy, just use your intuition. How you draw the person. Okay, I'm gonna time it when the 3 minutes is up. I will let you know, and then try to finish and send that to me. Emily, if you want to play that game, you can do that too. Yeah. No, I do want everyone to draw. There's no discrimination here. I just realized sometimes people don't bring papers to classes anymore. At least I don't anymore. So if you want to draw it on your phone or your computer, that's fine too. Okay, cool. I'm not good at drawing on computers, but if you want to do that. Okay, I'm not trying to scare you guys, but for the audio.
It's like time problem.
I like scaring people. That's funny. I just got one email. I'll give you about 1 more minute. So, yes,
Oh,
it's yidou@tamu.edu. Pretty good pictures. So if you haven't finished, try to wrap it up and then send that to me. Meanwhile, we're gonna continue with the class, and you can just do it when the lecture part is not too heavy. And just send the email. Great. Okay, so when we assess personality, we have different ways to assess that, right? Remember we talked about the Myers-Briggs personality test? So that's
it's like 16 personality.
the combination you get 4 letters.
Yeah, 4 letters.
Yep. So that's not valid. So we're not going to talk about that here in this class. But you do remember the link that I sent you last time about assessing personality? That's valid. Right? How many of you have done that? One person. All right. It's super interesting, and it helps you get to know yourself a little bit. Okay. So first we have behavior assessments. So we do this through direct observation. For example, we can use rating scales when we observe those behaviors. We can also count the frequency of the behaviors. For example, how many times did the person fight with another person? Or how many times this person have verbal arguments with other people? And then we use those to determine personalities. Okay. So there was a study called the dorm room and office studies back in 2010. So what they did is they go observe someone's dorm or their office. So they noticed some people's rooms are messy, some people's rooms are very clean, right? So what they found is that the rooms that they observed accurately predicted the people's personality on some traits. So if you remember last time we talked about, not last time, before we talked about Ocean, so the 5 personality traits, they found that openness is predicted by the distinctiveness of the room. So how creative the room is, the decoration, and the instruments or books in that room. Do you have a lot of books that's creative or in different areas, or do you play instruments? So that predicts the person's openness. And the room's organization and neatness predict their conscientiousness. Do you guys remember the big 5? Yes? No? No? We'll talk about that later, but just remember, openness and conscientiousness are the 2 of the big 5s. Do I need to explain the meaning of them right now? Or you kind of get it? You get it? Okay, all right. So there are pros and cons for the behavior assessment. The pro includes there's no response bias, right? You're observing the people. So they don't need to answer questions. Hopefully they don't notice that you're observing them. So there's no response bias. Do you remember response bias? Okay, good. and it's natural, so it's true to life. You're observing in a realistic or natural environment. You're not doing it in a lab. Right? The cons is that it takes a lot of time and effort to collect data. And because of that, you tend to have smaller samples, hence smaller power. However, there will be confirmation bias on the researcher's end. For example, do you guys remember confirmation bias? Okay, good. Right. So every researchers, they have their own hypothesis. So when they are observing something, they are likely to find things that align with their hypothesis. So there's no response bias from the participants, but there's confirmation bias from the researchers. Okay. So those are the pros and cons of behavior assessment. Any questions? Yes. Oh yeah. Yep. So they're outliers, and I think what they did is they did random samples to account for that variability. Okay, good question. Yes. What's the meaning? Yeah. So it kind of predicts that if you are not very organized, if your room is kind of messy, it predicts that your conscientiousness level is low. Do you know what this suggests? Conscientiousness. So how organized a person is. Do you make plans in your daily activities? So how responsible are you when you're given a task? So your room kind of predicts that. Does that make sense? All right, good question. We good? Any other questions? No? Do you know Nani? Oh, okay, cool. Just in case, it's a Japanese term. Wood. Okay. All right. So next, we have informant ratings. That's when we ask someone who knows the individual to describe their personality. So this person can be your friends, your teachers, your parents, your siblings, right? The pros for informant ratings is that it's more valid because you're getting information from different people, from different perspectives. And this could be more specific. You get a lot of information that you cannot observe, or you cannot just directly ask the person. And this is more comprehensive because you can combine and compare from different persons' views or their description of the person. Okay. The cons for informant ratings include limited access, and they could be biased too. So if your mom or your grandma says you're very handsome, it might be different from your friends, just a regular classmates, right? So they could be biased because of their relationship with the target person. All right. Next, we have personality inventories. This is when we ask direct questions about a person. So we give them clearly stated items, and they will give us yes or no, or true or false answers. So this one has a standardized scoring, which means we get quantitative data, which is different from what we just talked about. Those are qualitative data, right? You're getting information that's in words, but here we can use scores to represent your personality. So uncommon inventories include Minnesota Monophasic Personality Inventory. We call it the MMPI. And Neuroticism Extroversion Openness Personality Inventory Revised, and we call it the NEO-PIR. You don't need to memorize this. Those are just some common inventories. If you go to clinics and they ask you to do personality inventories, it's very likely to be one of those two. So here are some example questions. I like mechanic magazines, false or true. I have a good appetite, false or true. I wake up fresh and rested most mornings, false or true. So those are some of the questions that you get. And there are hundreds of them. When you do one of the inventories, you have 400 to 500 questions. It's long and dense. The reason for that is that they need to make sure what you're answering is not you're trying to look good. So try to get rid of that social desirability that demand characteristics. So they will put a lot of kind of like fake questions, or they will put similar questions and see if your responses are consistent throughout the questionnaires. Okay. So MMPI, this is the Big Five inventory, Ocean. Or if you want to remember it as Canoe, you can do that too. I like Ocean because of my personality. So openness to experience. This is when you have wide interest. You're being insightful and imaginative. Conscientiousness is how organized you are, how thorough you are, and how planful you are in daily life. Extroversion is how talkative the person is, whether you're energetic and assertive. Agreeableness is how sympathetic you can be. Sometimes we call it the person is very kind. We call it they're high on agreeableness. And then we have neuroticism. This is how tense the person is, how moody the person is, how likely they get anxious when they encounter difficulties. All right, so if you remember last time, I kind of showed you my personality. I'm very high on agreeableness. Do you think that high on agreeableness is like a desired trait, like people want to be high on agreeableness? Okay. Do you think there's any cons for high on agreeableness? Can you think of any? Or do you think the higher the better? Yes. Yes, so that's possible. If you're high on agreeable, it's less likely for you to reject requests. So other people ask you to do them a favor, you might be very easy to say yes. So yeah, that could be one of the cons. There's another one. Yeah. You say what? Oh, you're easier to follow peer pressures? Yes, very good, very good. Exactly. And there's another one for high on agreeableness is people who are high on agreeableness, they are less likely to have a lot of boundaries, sometimes personal boundaries. For example, the way that I teach is like I'm on the same level as you guys. I'm not trying to be very dominant or I don't know how to say it, demanding, I guess. Some people like it, some people don't. They want that hierarchy in class. That's why I got one of the reviews before says that I'm too friendly, so I don't establish like respect from students, which I disagree, but that could be a con. Setting personal boundaries. If you're high on agreeableness, that boundary could be not very clear. Okay, so there are definitely pros and cons for each one. It's not saying that if you're extroverted, more extroverted you are, the better. No, everything has to be like just a moderate level, right? Okay. Okay, so the pros for personality inventories include they're simple, easy, and they're cost effective. So you don't have to sit there with the participants or the clients. They can just do it on their own. And you can implement the inventories to multiple people at the same time. So you get the results fast. And then they're standardized. It's not like they're very subjective. They're standardized across. So you can kind of get a sense when you score something, you can compare it to other people. And this is focused on self-knowledge. So if you remember last time we talked about one of intelligence is the intrapersonal intelligence. So how well do you know yourself? The cons for this is there's the self-enhancement bias and social desirability. One example that I keep giving is that if I ask you if you do drugs, usually you don't want to say, yeah, I do drugs, right? If you do drugs, you don't want to say that because of social norms, social demands. Same with other behaviors. All right, any questions on inventories? Good. Next, we have the projective test to assess personalities. This is when we use ambiguous stimuli to evoke responses that may reveal a person's personality. So one important part for this kind of test is that you need to make sure the clients are being honest and you try to avoid a lie in their responses. Right? So one example, there's some example. The example that I gave you was draw a person's test. I'm gonna show you how they use that to interpret people's personalities. I'm gonna just take a quick glance, see if there's any interesting drawing for you guys. Usually there are a lot. How many of you drew the person based on your self-image? Only one. How did you draw this person? Like, what's the anchor that you use? Okay. Okay. Gotcha. What about other people? Yeah.
I did mine off like comic book director.
Okay. How many of you did use the character that's the same sex as you? Okay, a lot of you. For those who drew someone else, who did you use as? Yes.
Oh, I agree with you.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Your mom? Okay. All right. Your sister? And it's just like randomly comes to you. Okay. All right. I would say that's more like, do you remember the primary effect and the recency effect? Like that's most available to you, right? Okay. And you guys? Okay. All right. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. What about online students? They haven't said anything? Okay, cool. Yeah. Ask them and make sure they send me their drawing as well. I want them to also interact with the class. All right. So in this test, how we analyze it, we use the features of the person. So the head is the center of intellectual power, social balance, and control. So if you have a disproportionate head, so if you have a huge head, a small body, it suggests that you're more likely to be paranoid and narcissistic. If you have a smaller head on the drawing and huge body, you might have the feelings of weakness and intellectual inferiority. But it's not how I explain it. It's just the person who used this kind of test, they will use this kind of criteria to score on your drawing. Okay. I'm not saying they're accurate either. For the neck, that's the connection between the head and the body. So if you don't have a neck, so under emphasis may represent a disconnection between the two, your head and your body. Schizophrenia or feelings of physical inadequacy. You can think if that applies to you. Eyes, they suggest that they reveal inner image of the self. So big eyes means that you're suspicious of the outside world. Tiny eyes means that you have a strong visual curiosity. So you like to look at new things. If you have eyes closed on your picture, it means that you are likely to be emotionally immature or want to shut out the word. And the nose, triangle nose suggests immaturity. Pointed nose means possible acting out tendencies. And the pros for draw a person test is that it's easy to administer. You can give this to like a 5-year-old and they can do it. For inventories, you can give them to people who doesn't really know the words, right? So that requires certain intellectual abilities. This one doesn't. There's no strict formats. It's relatively culture free, but I kind of disagree because how you draw people is definitely influenced by how other people draw a person in that culture, right? If you guys know Japanese animes, they have very exaggerated eyes and head, yeah, and their hair colors is different. So I disagree with this a little bit, but relatively compared to other inventories, yes, because you don't need to know English to do this, right? And you can assess people with communication problems. If you can't really communicate them through words, through languages, you can use this kind of test to measure their personality. The cons is that the results are subjective and may not be as valid. How many of you think that the analysis applied to you? No, not at all. But they still use this. Some people might argue, yeah, that's your unconscious self. You don't even know that it's you. Okay. Next, we have the thematic appreciation apperception test. So we call it the TAT. So this is when people ask subjects to tell story from an ambiguous scene. I'm going to give you some examples. The hypothesis is that if a person is asked to describe or interpret ambiguous stimuli, their responses will be influenced by unconscious needs, feelings, and experiences. And the story that you told, that you are telling the psychologist or psychiatrist, is often coded for different motives, such as your achievement motives, your appreciation motives, or your power motives. I'm going to give you some examples so you can experience how this works. So tell me what you see here. Yeah.
They're on the bed. Probably died of like a near illness or something, or like injury.
Okay.
And the woman is like walking out, crying because her husband passed away, or some type of like before relationship, like a birth, something like that.
Okay. All right. Other people. Yes. Okay. All right. Alcoholic man. I'll take one more. Online students, do you have any responses? No. Well, you created. What did you think? I'm gonna just name a person. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rebecca, tell me what you think about this picture. Oh, here. Okay. So you saw the woman crying, and what do you think it was happening? Okay. All right. Cool. So ignoring something in the picture also tells you something about the person. Okay. So if I give you those leading questions, what's happening right now? You would tell me, okay, she's being sad. He's either died or being drunk, right? What happened before? So you say illness. You say he was probably drinking. What about cheating? Have anyone thought about that? You did? Yeah, that's like a very common response from previous classes. So what are they thinking and feeling? Most people will agree she's sad, right? She doesn't know what to do. He's pretty much just unconscious, right? He doesn't have feelings. All right. Sorry, that's not COVID. It's I'm trying to swallow my saliva. Man, it's hard. If you experience public speaking, sometimes it's just like with accident. Okay, what would they do? I haven't asked this before. What do you think? What the woman would do? She will go what? Oh, they're gonna have a fight. Okay, all right, all right. Say something.
I think like they go like either like go help family members or like go with someone like some close to like maybe her neighbor or like and like try finding someone to help support her during this tough moment.
Okay, all right. Seeking social support. All right. What about this picture? You already have one practice. For sure, you can't just whatever comes to your mind. Yeah. Okay, you say it's Snow White and the old lady, the queen.
The queen.
Okay, all right. So you assume she's innocent and she's evil.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. What about you guys? If I use the leading questions, like what's happening right now, what happened right before, and what they're thinking and feelings, and what would they do? If I give you those prompts, how would you think about the situation? Yes. Okay, so you think that she's jealous, and then what would they do? Can you imagine? If I ask you to tell me a story using this picture. Okay, she might be mean. Okay, so kind of consistent with one is evil, the other is not. Yes.
I feel like the old lady is like more like complaining, like she's remembering of her past life.
Okay.
Based off like her eyes, she's not looking at the woman, she's like looking away and her hand on the chin. Makes you think like she's remembering, and that's like maybe her when she was younger in the good old days.
Okay.
She's just reminiscing of like how she used to be before.
All right.
Like time caught up to her.
Cool. All right. So I'll take one more. Yeah. Okay, so they're seeking out targets. Okay, and she's passing on the experiences. Oh, very good. I thought she was smiling. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being a happy person. I just assume that she's smiling. I don't know. Okay, so you get an idea how thematic perception test works, right? You telling a story based on an image to the psychologist, and they try to interpret your story. So the pros for this is that there's no correct answer. You can just go free, go be creative, tell the psychologist what you're actually thinking. And it has actually pretty good validity. So how you interpret the situation might be happening to you. So let's say if I see that they're smiling, it might indicate that I'm a generally happy person. I see like it's conforming to my idea, right? It will apply the same to other people. It actually has pretty good validity. And then it provides valuable information. So some unconscious inputs that you would not normally tell people, right? The cons for this is that it's not standardized, right? You can't get like a score that you can compare to other people. And there's no set of ways to interpret the results. So it really depends on the psychologist who's doing the test. How I interpret your story might be different from different psychologists. Okay. Here, what do you see in this picture? Yes. What? Oh, two bears are fighting? Oh, they're high-fiving. Oh, okay, right here. Okay.
I saw two gnomes with like the red hats, like high-fiving instead.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like they have the hat and like the beard.
All right. Okay. See that? What about you guys? Okay, elephants, and that will be their trunks. Okay, elephants. Yes. Okay, right here. All right. Okay. The red part. Yeah, so you're not sure about the red parts. Okay. All right. What about other people? I'll take one more and then we move forward. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Those are the eyes, and then it's screaming, looking upwards, and that's the demon's horn. Okay. All right. Sometimes people can have very dark interpretation of the picture, and that's fine. So some common responses are to humans, four-legged animals, dog, elephants. The red details are often seen as blood, which didn't happen here. A little surprised, but we don't have a lot of people in the sample right now, right? So the responses can be relevant to how the person manages feeling or of anger or physical harm. So how they interpret the red parts and the black parts. So this is probably a real test, but they don't really make it public, because if those tests are public, it might lose validity. People might learn how to respond to those, right? Next one. Let's do this very quickly. What do you see here? Yeah.
I see like two waiters holding onto like a tray or like a cart somehow.
Okay.
And like there's like the sides are like kind of like music notes. I don't know.
Okay.
And in the middle, I see like a bow tie. Like
Okay.
a bow tie, like kind of like the fancy like setting.
So waiters, restaurant settings.
Yeah, a
Okay.
restaurant setting with like music and stuff.
Cool. Other people. Yeah. Oh, two monkeys are playing the drums. All right. Yeah. Okay. Insect face. Okay. Yes. You said what? Oh, okay. So they're trying to lift something heavy. All right. Very good. So a lot of people will say there are two humans interacting. Can be waiters lifting something, or even playing drums, right? The responses can be relevant to how the person relates to others. So the one before is about your ability to handle angers, right? And here is how you interact with other people. So more like your social tendency. You get a sense how this works? Yeah. Okay, so this is called the Rorschach influx. The scoring criteria includes locations. So what part of the image is used, or part of the images you ignored. Determinants. So the forms, shading, and movements. How did you interpret it? And then the context. So what is in the picture? If you see a demon, it might be very different from what you see as like two kids, right? Popularity. So how frequent is the response compared to other subjects? If your response is very different from other people, it might tell us some kind of stories about you. So if the descriptions match the structure, that's a sign of healthy psychological functioning. If it doesn't, it might suggest that you might have deeper issues, I guess. That's how they would describe it, and then they would try to understand how or why you gave that response, and why is that so different from other people. Okay. So besides the coding criteria, we can also look at other features such as signs of hostility or aggression. Do you see people high-fiving, or do you see them fighting? So that would be different on aggression. So the content may be interpreted symbolically. For example, a pig may reflect gluttonous tendencies. If you see pigs all the time, it might suggest that your personality has this gluttonous tendency, might be greedy on something. Again, it's just based on how they interpret it. Personally, I don't really buy it, but people use that. So the response styles may also be used as information. So the pros for this is that there's some predictive ability. If you see a lot of violence, you might predict that you might engage in violent behavior in the near future, or you have been engaged in violence. And it's designed to assess unconscious impulse. Same with other ambiguous stimulus stress. The cons for Rorschach's influx is that there's low validity. It can mean something completely different than how the psychologist interpreted it. And it requires extensive training to administer. So you need to have a lot of trainings on this to do this kind of test on people. All right, so that's the Rorschach's influx test. Questions? So those are some of the common ways that psychologists assess personalities nowadays. If you're interested, we can talk about those more after class. But if you don't have any questions, I will see you next week.
I really like how you time like
Right on time.
Or like you never have extra stuff like when you're not. So I was like, oh, class is done. Now it's on my PowerPoint.
Thanks. Yes. Should be. The quiz should be posted today. Yep. And I am going to post the PowerPoints right now since I have them here. Right.